Poetry is motion. Poetry is emotion. Poetry is he motion. Poetry is her motion. Poetry is hurt motion. Poetry is heart motion. Poetry as a notion. Poetry was an ocean. Poetry is commotion. Poetry is.
Hello, everybody. I'm Stephen Pitters, and welcome to the Spokane Open Poetry Program here at KYRS Medical Lake Spokane, 88.1 and 92.3 FM. Hello, folks. You know who you are. You know who I am. So you know it is time for you to reset and enjoy some poetry, prose, and at times some music here at KYRS Medical Lake Spokane, 88.1 and 92.3 FM. This is Thin Air Community Radio, and we are on the stream at www.kyrs.org, where the young, the old, and the in-between gather to share their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. My special guest today is the noted poet, Zach Anderson White. Zach, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
All right. The mission of the Spokane Open Poetry Program is to make available to poets and others the opportunity to share their literary works and musical skill. But Zach, guess what? It is time for the Thank You Minute. And so is there anyone out there that you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to thank my parents, my best and really only friend Joel, and the founders and hosts of all the open mics in Spokane.
All right. And I'll give a shout out to good friends, John, and my good old buddy down in Texas, Charlie, and my good friend in New York, Ellen. All right. And before we turn the show over to Zach, I'm going to read a poem, and then it will be his show. This particular piece I've been working on, it is called Closing the Gate Was Not Too Late. Love gathered the call of joy, but sank into the abyss when sorrow persisted. Closing off the mind wraps it in an opaque blur. The dejection created an invariable weight, and we fell apart. The sting at the toxic tip of the dart made it difficult to discern the view. I couldn't cut through the mess she had seen fit to express. Her departure filled my quaking heart with a gallon of pollution. I choked on its impurity. She had decided to elope, like a rat bolting, cutting loose. Only its long, narrow gray tail could be seen slipping beneath the white painted baseboard. The rodents come to eat, but often beat a hasty retreat, fearing the sound of any intruding noise. Such were her thoughts, her interpretation of the new possibility we could divulge. Love is a rogue, a warrior willing not to remain distant, but instead encounter and feed, devouring the prime beef while seated at her table. She wanted much the same impact, though without the same predatory display. Her cards were already played by the hungry look of her vampire teeth. From forehead to chin, her signs were clear. Come and get what's here. Her right hand was sweating when she clutched mine. The skin on my palm was drowned. The rest of the hand didn't tarry, but left slithering out with a swoosh. She tried again for a final capture, hooking my shoulders and waist with a left-hand combination jab. Our face melted with its hug. With her juicy lips forcing the issue, resisting was foolhardy. The saying is, and has always been, just go with the flow. all the doors were blown open for us to know what the final decision would be. You win when you score, and we both scored often, immersed in one another's climactic details. If you're just tuning in, this is the Spokane Open Poetry Program here at KYRS Medical Lake Spokane, 88.1 and 92.3 FM. Now it's time for us to listen to the poetry of Zach Anderson White. Zach, your show.
Thank you. This is a poem I wrote called I Love You Nose Hair. I have a lot of hair, and if you would permit, not that you would care, but let me tell you about it. I have some on my lip in a row, I have some under my watch, I have some on my pinky toe, and lots on my crotch. The ones on my head aren't counterfeits. My cheeks look like stipples. I've got stinky ones in my pits, and curly ones on my nipples. But nothing can compare, even though I like all those, to that hair in my nose. You're not very aesthetically pleasing, you're not the longest, but I'd never consider tweezing, even if you're not the strongest. Because you keep me from sneezing, you are what I am not. You keep me warm, never freezing, even when covered in snot. My love for you, nose hair, I wish I could better show. Tastier than an eclair. Not that I would know. I've never had an eclair. Others only hope for your fullness, and you have so much grace, never a moment of dullness. You're like a lint trap for my face. You may have just raised an eyebrow, because that rhyme was taken from Shakespeare. See, I can do highbrow, so doth kisseth mine rear. I no longer feel scarred. I forgive you for that time, sugar. I blew my nose hard, and you left with a booger. Oh, nose hair, my true love. I wish our love could be sexual, but it never could have, mostly because I'm not that flexible. Thank you.
I think perhaps the hardest thing to do is write poem with that level of comedy, immersed in the entire storyline.
Oh, thank you.
How did you come to develop that style?
Well, I've always been drawn to comedy, and I like rhyming, and so it just sort of naturally came into poetry.
And you chose nose hair.
Well, so I wanted to write a love poem because that's what all the cool kids were doing. But I didn't have anyone to write a love poem to, so I had to find some inanimate object to write a love poem to, and so I chose my nose hair.
I think that is so difficult to do. I mean, it's easier for me personally to write something on the more serious side, whoa, love, whatever. But to come up, I mean, when you sit down to do this, what process do you go through? I mean, does it just come and you just zoom with it, or what vision goes through your mind?
It's usually a funny concept. I just, we all have thoughts, and I don't think I have any more funny thoughts than other people, but I just pick up those whenever I have the occasional funny thought. I take that thought and try to build it out into a poem.
Okay, well, another one, please.
I thank my best friend Joel, who I very much enjoy his company, and I wrote him a poem called My Best Friend Joel. No one has a complete soul until they meet my best friend Joel. He's here for the long haul. He's not just the non-sexual version of a booty call. Some would contend dogs are man's best friend. Don't make me laugh. I don't have to give Joel a bath. But I would, because our friendship is that good. Working as he does in a hospital, he helps bring more joy than a red Skittle. He helps bring joy into everyone's life. He's like a happiness midwife. Side note on midwives, I learned while writing this poem that a midwife is in fact not your wife after your first divorce, but before your third marriage.
A literal translation.
Further, Joel's the opposite of dim, and I would do anything for him. If someone insulted his beard, I would give the insulter a pointed leer. If someone insulted his sweater, I would anonymously write a very strongly worded letter. And if he broke up with his girlfriend, I would say, so she's available then? And for a friendship like ours, I would spend on this poem at most half an hour.
Whew. I mean, it's great to hear poetry that just kind of makes you laugh. If that being their intent.
Yes, that is absolutely the intent.
Okay.
I've actually been meaning to write poetry that has that makes you laugh, but also has like a deeper idea behind it, or make you think as well as laugh. And so that's kind of where I want to go with my poetry in the future.
That's great. That is great. Now, are you from this area?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Spokane.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What's high school?
University.
University, then. You're a Valley person then.
I've been all over, actually. I just happened to be in the Valley for those 4 years.
Mm-hmm. And where did you travel around to?
Just all over in Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on South Hill and on the east side.
Did you play any sports while you were at
No, I'm highly unathletic. If that's
because you're a tall person, so I was thinking okay, maybe play some basketball.
You can be tall and uncoordinated, which is the combination I have.
Okay, well, you're doing what you're doing best, so keep going.
This next poem is called "Polyamorist Might Have a Point." And a polyamorist, in case you don't know, is someone with multiple partners, and it's a consensual relationship. If you're hungry for food, you should be able to fill your grocery cart. And if you're hungry for love, fill your heart. Which is why you don't need to smoke a joint to think polyamorous might have a point. Republicans always talk about the breakdown of the family and its effect on society. Then the idea of polyamory they shouldn't shelve. What's better than having 2 parents? Having 12. And on this issue, Democrats can mingle, because polyamory is like affirmative action for the perpetually single. Whenever you get in a fight, there's an arbiter to set it right. And whenever someone is suffering from shoulder pain, polyamorous can form a massage train. George Washington was monogamous with supposed glee, but he's not around anymore. Now is he? Hitler was monogamous through and through. That's actually why he started World War II. And Obama just gave us monogamy and hope. And is he president now? Nope. Besides, polyamory is no hex, and it's all about connection, not just sex. So I would contend, unless you only have one friend, and don't get pissed, but you already are a polyamorist.
A single word with many different applications.
Yeah.
Now, how old are you?
I'm 21. I just turned 21 a couple weeks ago.
Okay, and where do you see yourself, say, in the next couple of years? Graduate school or
I was thinking about graduate school in political science, actually, and that poem's kind of political, but I don't know if that's for me at this juncture. I'm just enjoying writing poetry right now and working the 9 to 5. So
okay, all right, well that'll work. Before we continue on, let me just jump off to the side here a little bit. One of the things we do here is to alert folks to some of the positive qualities that they can participate in that can help the station. And so when you go to the KYRS page, you'll see many things. One among which are the front of a red car, and it says, donate your car, truck, or boat. It's easy. All you have to do is give us a call at 855-597-7227 to arrange a free pickup. And what do you get for this? Well, you get a tax receipt. So give us a call at 855-597-7227 to arrange your free pickup for your car, truck, or boat. And remember, it is that easy, so give us a call. Another thing we'd like to let you know at this time is, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, all you need to do is call 747-3807, 509-747-3807, and leave your name and number. Remember, we are also heard on the stream at www.kyrs.org. We are heard around the country and around the world. Again, if you'd like to be a volunteer, just give us that call and we'll get back in touch with you so you too can come to our radio station and learn lots about the radio, because radio is fantastic. Again, in the studio with me right now is the poet Zach Anderson White, and more from him.
This next poem was the very first poem I ever read in front of a group at Broken Mike, which most Wednesdays you can find me at. This is called My Eyebrows, and this is, of course, radio, so you can't see my eyebrows, but imagine a caterpillar on steroids dressed as a Sherpa, and you'll be thinking of something smaller than my eyebrows. And I used to be upset about that, but now I'm like, you know what, my eyebrows are awesome, so I wrote a poem about them. I used to be as sad as a sickly little possum, but then I realized my eyebrows are awesome. If the statue of David were hairy, these are the brows that he would carry. Their fullness makes Leonid Brezhnev weep. They populate the dreams of Meryl Streep. The president's car they buff, the pillows of gods they stuff. Dictators use my eyebrow lashes as whips. Waiters in 37 countries accept them as tips. Their sass would make Mother Teresa moody. They once intimidated Judge Judy. 5-star restaurants use them as a spice. Their very sight made an orca orgasm twice. Next to my eyebrows, heaven is ho-hum. My eyebrows even wrote this entire poem.
This is becoming of this vision of, okay, what other parts of you, you're going to talk about your hair and your eyes and your kneecaps and your toes.
Yeah, I've only written poems about my nose hair and my eyebrows, but they're like two of my favorite poems. So maybe I need to
expand your scope.
Yeah, I tried to write a poem about my uncle's mustache, but it wasn't very. His mustache is great, but the poem did not live up to the quality of his mustache.
One of the things I always wonder about is when an individual sits down to write a poem, or do you go to a certain place in your house or wherever to write the piece, other than when the idea comes along and you're searching for a piece of paper to zip it down? If you're driving, you pull off and you're writing, if you have your little book to write all your inspirational moments. Where were you when you wrote this particular piece?
I was on a walk. I like walking and writing. And I was probably listening to Prince or Lou Reed. It's a good combo.
Yeah, it's an interesting combo, Lou Reed and Prince. I do have a Lou Reed album, by the way.
Which one?
It's an old one.
Probably Transformer.
I'm trying to visualize the album cover. It's a 33.
Okay. That doesn't mean anything to me. I'm sorry.
Oh, the big
Okay.
Vinyl one. Nothing metallic.
Yeah.
back in those days, but yeah, just to give me an update of when this when the spirit strikes, wherever you go is where you stop and do it. Now, have you had the opportunity to publish a book or a chapbook or anything of that nature?
No, actually, this is by far the biggest thing I've ever done, poetry-wise, or maybe ever.
Don't cut yourself short.
No, and I actually just started writing poetry about 4 months ago. And so it's been a really cool ride so far.
Now, you mentioned there are a number of poetry venues in Spokane. How many have you visited?
I've been to, I think, all of the open mics. I'm still a little skittish about going to a slam. The being graded is not necessarily something I want to jump into right now.
Well, I mean, that's a different style, because your performance and you're performing when you are not at slams, but that's more the focus of the slam is the performance, the energy, and whatever those other elements there, as opposed to someone reading their work, in a more subdued manner.
Yeah, and I don't know how much more elaborate body motions I can make talking about my eyebrows or something. I don't know what the I don't know what the slam equivalent of that is.
Okay, you're rolling along, so let's keep going.
This next one is actually the poem I read when you asked me to come on the show. This is called "Men Should Have a Period Equivalent." Many guys need to get it through their skull that all genders are equal, so we should be able to assent that men should have a period equivalent. Women menstruate, so men should uncontrollably lactate. On TV there should be ads for men's nipple pads. It's a great idea, wouldn't you say? Besides, what are men's nipples for anyway? But even that compensation isn't equal, because at least man milk would taste good on cereal. Plus, women get painful cramps, so maybe men should have the insatiable desire to collect stamps. Sure, men must conceal the occasional embarrassing erection, but that's nothing compared to hiding your vintage stamp collection. But even that compensation isn't okay, because you can't sell your menstrual cramps on eBay. But if you combine the two, you see, we might be closer to gender equality. At this idea, you may laugh, but lactation plus stamp collection equals menstruation. It's just math.
It's just math.
It is.
2 + 2.
Yep.
Now, as I said, you just started, doing your poetry readings around town. Do you see yourself going beyond just here, or are you thinking down the road, or is that too early in your poetry?
Well, the big events outside of, and I guess in Spokane too, are slams, and I'm not a
slammer.
Exactly. I'm not a slammer. So, Once I get enough stuff, it'd be cool to publish a book. I think that would be a lot of fun, a lot of work, but a lot of fun. So that's what I see.
That's great. That's great. But so you have a lot of good stuff, and I don't want to get in your way, so keep going.
Okay. This next one is called "Dads Are Overrated." I've never met my dad. I have two moms who were together, and now they're separated. But this is a poem, and I used to be upset about that, but this is a poem like the eyebrow poem where I used to be upset about having huge eyebrows. Maybe dads are overrated. I was raised by two moms, and as I have at times stated, I've had my qualms, but let me mansplain why dads are overrated. There's no knowledge that a father had that couldn't be taught better by someone with boobs, or learned from America's dad, YouTube. Sure, I dropped my pants at the urinal on the first day of school. It was kind of an ordeal, but I wasn't the target of much ridicule because they were too jealous of my 6-year-old buns of steel. And I was never taught how to shave my upper lip, but I needn't such a coddle. It makes me look hip, and even more like a French model, which is a lot funnier in person because I look nothing like a model. I needn't sit through bad dad jokes that give you a mental sore, yet they're so proud of their plan, such as, why does a chicken coop only have 2 doors? Because if it had 4, it'd be a chicken sedan. I don't worry about my dad intimidating my date as soon as they've met. Not that I know what it's like to be dating, but I read about it in a pamphlet. Dads get bald like Eisenhower and smell bad with that peculiar dad stink, whereas moms have a coat-zipping superpower and can unabashedly enjoy Engelbert Humperdinck. I realize most people don't know who Engelbert Humperdinck is. I didn't either. I just thought the name was funny, so I put it in a poem. And only my mothers could have given this advice to me. Do what you want to do, be who you want to be, and do who you want to do.
Well, Engelbert Humperdinck had a TV show back in the day.
Really?
And he's has an incredible voice, actually. He has like an 8-octave or a 6 or 7-octave voice. I mean, very good. And I have on my phone the best of Engelbert Humperdinck. I mean, he really has an incredible voice. And if you listen to the best of Engelbert, you'll find songs, depending on your age, that like, whoa, I remember that song I've heard. But he has a great voice. And his songs are so good.
Okay, but is it as good as Lou Reed? Because I'm thinking maybe not.
Well, I'm not going to go with the Lou Reed, Engelbert Humperdinck.
The comparison radio has been waiting for.
Right, we're kind of at the different ends of that scale, sort of. But there's enough for everybody. So since you put Engelbert out there, give him an earshot.
Okay,
so
I will.
I'm sure you'll find something that he's, one of his songs that you could write a poem about, because his stuff has a beautiful, mellow. It's one of those songs that you can sing. So some groups, it's like listening to Roberta Flack, or anyone else that their voice is so good to listen to, and it's not impeded by a lot of pyrotechnics. That's the other part of it. But so there's your Engelbert Humperdinck. So another piece you have around?
How are we doing on time?
We have about 3.5 left.
Oh, perfect. Okay, this is I wanted to write a civil rights poem, but I'm not a super serious person, so I wanted to find a class of people who are really disparaged by all of society and who need their own voice. And so I decided to give a voice to cannibals in a poem I wrote called "Cannibals Might Have a Point." Our society shouldn't judge by color of skin. Sexual orientation shouldn't cause a riot. Neither should the religion you're in, nor your diet. Some support a Republican, some say a Democrat is more hardy, but both produce a lot of spin, which is why I support the Donner Party. The Donner Party has many bright thoughts, so bright with so many lumens, such as subsidized meals for the tots, and maybe we should eat other humans. Some say it's fine to eat other animals. Hell, go ahead and eat a cheetah. I don't see much of a difference for cannibals. Just ask PETA. Although it's hard to buy it and the thought might sicken, don't knock it till you try it. People might just taste like chicken. Many are worried about overpopulation, but I know how to solve that plight, and the problem of starvation, in just one bite. We have euphemisms like deer as venison in order to make eating an animal less malicious. We just need another name for person. I recommend the term delicious. Not everyone has to be a cannibal if they find that eating a person is gross, but just keep an open mind next time I invite you over for dinner and a roast.
Well, believe it or not, as I said before we got on the air, once you get going, and then all of a sudden it's done.
Yeah.
So, Zach, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh, I really appreciate this, Stephen.
And I hope that you will make it your business to write some more of your unique poetry, and let me know so we can have you back for a second go round.
Wow, thank you.
Well, for Zach Anderson White, I'm Stephen Pitters, your host for the Spokane Open Poetry Program here at KYRS Medical Lake Spokane, 88.1 and 92.3 FM, and we'll see you again real soon. Zach, take care.
Thanks, you too.